Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? Happy Memorial Day. If you're in the United States, today is Memorial Day 2023, May 29th. And what an awesome and incredible day. I just want to welcome you back to another episode of the I AFYL Podcast today. How to find an endless amount of new content. So if you are somebody who's looking to create, somebody who's looking to do videos, send emails, whatever it is that you're really looking to do, and you know you're going to have to create some content, today I'm going to just kind of share with you how I've been able to create new content on demand. And so let's jump right into this. So content is interesting. What is content? Content, if I were looking it up, because I didn't look it up, if I were looking up what content is, it just means something that's inside. Something that's inside. I'm going to actually look it up because I think that is a good context. That's a good contents of what we're talking about. Satisfied, state of member, the content, state of peaceful happiness. I don't like those. That's not really good. Interesting. Just contained. It says ideas that are contained in a place. So something it's contained. Something's inside of something. That's what content is. That's a key word. Inside. So if you were looking for an endless amount of content, you got to think about, well, content is in somewhere. That's where that is, in something, somewhere, someone, right? And so when you think, if there was a way for you to create new content endlessly, here's what I would ask: what do you like most? What do you like to do? Or what do you want to know about? Last June, I think it was last June. Was it 2022? It might have been 2021. It was out 2000. I think it was 2021. 2021. I read 15 books in 1 month. 15 books in 1 month. Now, I can speed read. I can move fast. I just created a system of getting through pages, and I was able to read 15 books in a month. Now, here's the interesting thing about reading and writing, because they both go together. When you read, you are putting new content in. You're putting information in. So if we just said content is inside of something, it's contained in something. When you take in something, you're putting in the information inside yourself, which means that you give yourself an opportunity to recall at some point. Now, here's the thing: we don't always know how. We don't always know how our mind is going to recall. So we have to help our mind by doing things that will enable the mind to say, I got to use that information. So just like today, I was going to take the day off. I was going to do a replay, play something from another day or another month. And then all of a sudden why don't you just talk about creating content? Like maybe you didn't think you had anything until you realized you had something to talk about. Or like if I was writing, I could be writing this as a blog. But I don't write. I like to talk about the things that I want to share. So finding an endless amount of content is first realizing that you kind of have to digest. You have to bring something in. See, here's the thing. You could go find content, right? And kind of write about something. You can go write, let me just go pull it. I can share it. So some people just take content and they can just share it. Like that's a part of strategies that people would use some years ago when social media, posting and planning, was coming about. It was go find other people's content and just share it, right? By sharing it, then it almost feels like you are somewhat of an authority. And yeah, that's cool. That's cool, right? If you share it and then you got to put some insight to it. So the best kind of content is when you can take someone else's content, then digest it, and then bring it out, digest it and bring it out. That's, I think I learned a bunch of methods years ago when I was trying to figure out, man, how do you do this? This is hard. So how to find endless amount of content. So you got to go somewhere, get some information and put it on the inside. Then this may be secondly or lastly, I'm not sure. So then you say, well, Jay, well, wow, like that's like I still don't know how that works. So then if you're looking to what I would say create content, now you want to create, you put something in, you want to create something. The best way to take new information is to digest it and then exhale it. Like one of my new coaches, he's been teaching on this. He says, yeah, you read the book, but then you want to then write something about it or talk about it so that you can give your understanding of it. So one of the ways that I learned how to create new content by taking in other people's content was that I wouldn't do a report on it, but what I would do is I said, you know what, I want to talk about this thing. And I would say, well, if I was starting, I want to start here and I want to end here. And then I would put like if it was a little graph, I would have a starting point here and then one at the end. And then I would have these little check marks, 1, 2, 3, 4 check marks. And then I would just say, I would talk about this, I'll talk about this, I'll talk about this, talk about this, and then the end. And I did that for months and months and months and months and months and months and months, many months. You know what happened? That same system was embedded on the inside of me. So it's like, now I don't have to write it down. I'm just saying, I wrote it down first. Anytime I wanted to talk about something, I want to start here and I want to end here, right? I'm starting with not knowing something about something, and I want to end with knowing this about something. And then what will we say in between point number 1, point number 2, point number 3? You could do 3 points, point number 4. And then in some cases, you may have to you may have to script it a little bit more, like it starting out. But here's what your mind does. Your mind takes that as your framework. When you listen, I'm saying this again, your mind takes that as a framework. And then what happens is one day you look up and I don't have to do it as much. Maybe one day you couldn't plan it. And all of a sudden, like, oh, Dad, I did it. Then it happened again. And then all of a sudden, it's like your mind knows. Guys, your mind, when you program your mind, your mind basically will wind up leading you. Your subconscious mind will lead you exactly to where you want to go, even without you having to think about it. So finding an endless amount of content starts with information, right? Because maybe you don't know something. So, or if you do know something, you can take what you know, and then start doing this from two. I want to start here. I want to start here. This is where they are. This is where I am. And I want to take them here. This is where I am, and this is where I want to take them. And then you give some points. And so, but having new and endless versions of content is just taking something in, or taking the version that you already have, and then almost like redistributing, restructuring it, reimagining, exactly what you already have. So content, another one, endless amounts of content. I've got 2 books on my desk. These are the best books. Actually, they're the same book, two different versions. You can't see it. Let me move this out of the way. This is my manly Bible here. This is the NIV version, right? Endless amounts of content. Endless. I'm talking about endless amounts of content in there. I was in the gym this morning, and I was thinking about new content, new information that's coming into me from the book and just from the ancient language. And it's just like, man, you can't go wrong with that book. Like, that book has everything in it. So don't get so caught up like I was at one point, because look, if you go out and you compare yourself to some of the really successful people that's doing content really well, one thing they'll all tell you is that they all sucked in the beginning. How did they get good? They got good because they got good at doing something. And they just leveraged it, but they all were terrible. Like one of the top YouTubers on the planet, Mr. Beast. If you never heard of him, go on YouTube. Mr. Beast is the top YouTuber, hundreds of millions of subscribers. It's crazy. I think he got 100 million subscribers. Like crazy. One person. No, but he has a huge team now. But he started with nothing. Was nothing. If you go to his early videos, like, how did he get so good? Just kept doing it over and over and over again. And it does take time. But he is like Mr. Beast. I think they say his YouTube channels are valued probably, I think somebody offered him $1 billion and he turned it down because it was like, that's not enough. But they believe that his YouTube channels, his multiple channels and his whole conglomerate is worth probably over 50 million. One guy. But he's got a huge team now. So finding an endless version of content starts with something. It starts with information, something that's contained on the inside. Sometimes you have to go outside, find a book, find somebody else already doing something, digest it, take it in, and then take that information and then exhale it right into something new. And you keep doing it over and over and over. Find really good books, find really good things that you already know about and talk about them. Like, I just like talking about Account for Your Life. Like, I like talking about that more than I like talking about my industry stuff, like counting, taxes. I don't like talking. I mean, I can do it, but I like talking about this stuff better. So I focus on taking everything. So I take all the stuff that I learned and I run it through the Account for Your Life filter. Doesn't matter what kind of book it is. It's a business book coming through Account for Your Life. If it's the Bible, it's coming through Account for Your Life. If it's a hobby, coming through Account for Your Life. If it's experiences, all coming through Account for Your Life. So find a filter. Find a word. I gave a talk last year. Find your word. Find your word. If you find your word, I believe you find your purpose. So guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the Healthy Accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.